So we have another Pokemon video today. This one is Pokemon that are based off of Game of Thrones characters. Um, and I've watched Game of Thrones all the way through. I actually started watching it like a couple of months, like a month or two before like the series actually finished. So I binged watched all of it. It's one of the few things I've like binge watched that's not anime. Um, I like binge watched the whole thing and like worked my way all the way through it. I mean, like I was aware of a few things. Like I knew that like certain people died because like I'd seen things in regards to stuff that would pop up on Facebook or get mentioned at times or whatever. It's like I knew that Jon Snow died and that he came back. I knew that there were dragons, obviously. Um, I knew that there was like stuff about like the Night King, and I knew that there was like things about like the Stark family and different things like that. So it's like those weren't really. I mean, like okay, I knew that was gonna happen. I just kind of wanted to see how it was gonna happen. I mean, like I'd heard about the series back when it first started, and I knew that it was kind of based off of like a book series. I've not read the books, so pretty much what I know from Game of Thrones is what's in the series. I am aware that that is not 100% true to the books, particularly in the last season, um, and that the books have been around for quite a while, and that there's like a long history in regards to the land of Westeros and everything. Um, so it's like I have some of that knowledge. I looked up a little bit like as I was watching through the series. I was like, okay, well let's see where this ties into or what this ties into or like who this person is or that type of a thing, just to kind of give myself an idea about that. And so I was working my way through the series and everything, and I ended up working through, and I wanted to have some Pokemon that were based off of some of the characters. Um, Full disclosure, none of the Pokemon are named Denarius or anything like that, or Khaleesi or anything like that. Um, I do have two Pokemon that are specifically named after her dragon, two of her dragons, and a third that I want to breed, but I just have not gotten around to it yet because it's a shiny. A lot of the Pokemon on this list are actually shiny. So we'll just start from the beginning with one of the dragons, which is why I have Dragonite over here. I've had this stuffed Dragonite for like 15, not 20 years yet, but like 15 to 18 years or something like that. I've had that dragon for a long time. Um, but the first one is actually a Charmander or a Charizard. It is a shiny Charizard called Drogon, obviously named after her giant black dragon named Drogon. It is male, has a bashful nature, has blaze for its ability, likes to thrash about, and it's shiny, as I said, and I can mega evolve it into X or Y. This was actually one of the shinies that it took me the least amount of time to breed. And I bred it like before I even started watching Game of Thrones, and I didn't have anything to name it, so I was looking up different like black dragons and literature or whatever, and I came across Drogon, and I'm like, okay, I'll name it Drogon. Hadn't seen Game of Thrones yet. I knew there were dragons. That was about it. Did not take very long to hatch this Charmander. Not at all. First, surprisingly, I did the Masuda method and it worked very quickly. And then I've had other ones where I've bred several hundred of them and still not gotten what I wanted. The next one is another, it's one of Drogon's brothers. It's Viserion, who is the Dragonite that I have. Is male, has inner focus, is brave, likes to thrash about. It's just a regular Dragonite. Bred it, rather easily. They're not that hard to breed necessarily. I want to have a shiny one, and I have it. I have it picked to do Rhaegal, Rhaegala. I can never pronounce the names. For some of the characters. The third one, the green one. I either want to do have it be a shiny Dragonite because they're green, he's green, or a shiny Salamence, again, because they're both green. I may break down and just end up, breeding it a Dragapult and naming it that because that's a little bit easier than trying to breed a shiny, but I also like the challenge of trying to breed a shiny. So we'll see what happens with that. I like the three dragons in the story. I like how we get to, watch the progression of them growing and getting stronger throughout the course of the series, and their bond with, Daenerys. I mean, they were her children, so as much as you may hate what happened in the last couple of episodes in regards to, Daenerys going, crazy. I mean, I can see where part of that came from. She lost so much, one thing right after the other does not give her the right to do what she did. And I'd heard that like they had wanted to draw it out a bit more, like draw out like whether or not she was going to snap a bit more. But, they got the season cut down so much and they couldn't do as much as they wanted to do with the character development for that. But, we'll see what ends up happening in the books, whatever point in time that gets done with. Now we're going to enter some Stark children, which is why I have Rockruff over here. I have 3 shiny Lycanrocs, 1 Midday, 1 Midnight, and 1 Dusk. And they're each named after a Stark child. I like the Stark kids. I do like them quite a bit. I like, we don't get that much with Rickon. We get him a little bit at the beginning. He's the youngest one. We, see him a little bit. He gets his wolf at the, his dire wolf at the beginning. And then, we know that the wolf gets killed at one point because Rickon ends up getting taken, for his own safety somewhere. And then, that family betrays the Stark family and hands over Rickon, and then of course Rickon's killed at the Battle of the Bastards by Ramsay, and then of course we have Bran, who is is now the king. Bran the Broken is the king. I'm like, sure, we can go with that. Bran, I think, is going to be a fine king. I'm just like, okay, the story progression, sure. And then we have Robb. Robb is, I liked Robb. I was sad that he died in the Red Wedding with what happened with him and his wife and everything, and with Catherine. I found that very disturbing. Another reason why I don't like Filch. I'm just like, I'm watching through Game of Thrones and I'm like, I know there's going to be British actors in this that I recognize. And, I'm like, they introduced that family and I'm like, oh, look, Filch. I know he's also been in Doctor Who, and actually played the first Doctor in several things for the BBC, which was very nice. But just don't care that much for him. I liked Robb, as I said. He was okay. He was very brave and everything. And then of course, then we get into the 3 that I actually have, which if by, consequence of, process of elimination, the first one that I have is a male, Midday Lycanroc, who is named Jon. Has Steadfast, is gentle, and is alert to sounds, and it is shiny. I do like, Jon Snow throughout the course of the series. I'm aware, but, I am aware that, of course, at the end of, one of the seasons, it's, of course, revealed that, Jon Snow is not Ned Stark's bastard son. He's, the son of Ned's sister. I don't remember her name off the top of my head. Lyanna, I think it was Lyanna. He's, her son, along with the son of, I think it's not Drogon, so it's not Viserion, because Viserion was the brother that got killed at the beginning of the series by Drogon, by Drogo. Was Rhaegal, whichever one it was. I probably got the brothers mixed up. I apologize for anyone who watches this and knows Game of Thrones, every single name, every single everything. I apologize. I'm not the expert. I admit that fully. But we learn that he's a Targaryen and a Stark and blah 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 blah. That his parents were actually married, but he still has that bond with with Robb and with Bran and Rickon and with Arya. He still has that bond there with them. And, he goes through quite a journey throughout, of course, both literally and mentally and, emotionally and, physically and everything throughout the entire series. He goes through this huge arc, and yet he ends up right back at the wall, at the end of the movie, or at the end of the TV series. I don't think he's gonna stay gone. If they ever do a sequel series, they'll probably figure out something to bring Jon Snow back, considering his popularity. We'll see. Next sibling, we have another Lycanroc, although this is my Dusk Lycanroc. It is female, has tough claws, has hasty nature, is mischievous, is shiny, and is named Sansa. Yeah, Sansa. I like Sansa. I mean, like, at the beginning of the series, I'm looking at Sansa. She's, the spoiled, well, I say somewhat spoiled. She's the girl that's supposed to be like this perfect heiress. She's, she's the eldest daughter. She's the one who is, most likely going to be marrying into the royal family because she's kind of betrothed to marry Joffrey at the beginning of the series. And, we see the way that she is throughout the course of the beginning of the series. And then we watch throughout the course of the series, again, as Sansa changes and grows, as her, at the end of that first season, all of the Stark siblings are all now split up. Jon's at the Wall, Rod's off to war, Brienne and Bran and Rickon are, still at Winterfell. Arya's been taken, for her own safety, and Sansa is left in, left in the capital. And, she at King's Landing, and that's where she's stuck for quite a few seasons, and she goes through so much. And she gets, she becomes a better person, a fuller person. We see the way that she goes through. She has to survive with Cersei there and having to deal with Joffrey, and then she has to, then of course she ends up getting married to the imp, and having all of that problem happen with her, and then she, works her way through that, and then of course she, eventually, escapes with, the help of Brienne. She ends up escaping at one point, and well, not with Brienne. She doesn't help escape. It doesn't help. Brienne doesn't help her escape from that. But we have the keeper of the purse. Can't remember his name, but he's the one that runs the whorehouse and everything, and had this disturbing obsession with Sansa and Arya's mother and her aunt, and then Sansa, because he's insane. Peter Bailiff, whatever, yeah, him. But Sansa goes through so much. I think, I got both Jon and Sansa via trading in Sword and Shield. So again, thank God for the ability to change nicknames if they haven't been nicknamed yet. I love that ability. I love that for Sword and Shield. So thank you. And then we have, and at the end of the series, of course, Sansa is now, queen in the North. She, she's now the Stark that's on that throne. She's now the one that is, in charge of ruling that part of the country. That new kingdom that'll be there. And then, of course, we enter the last one for the Stark children that I have stuff named after. We have a Midnight Lycanroc that is named Arya. Is female, has keen eye, is quiet, somewhat vain, and is shiny. I like Arya basically throughout the entire series. I love the fact that she doesn't, care that Jon is technically not her full-blooded brother, that he's, this bastard and everything. I understand where Sansa's, hesitation comes from with Jon. And the fact that, Sansa was much more raised by her mother. Not that Arya wasn't raised by Catelyn, but she also just had more of this affection for Jon. Arya adores Jon. She adores all of her brothers and everything. And she, she wants to become, strong the way they are. And of course, Jon gives her needle, her sword, of course. And so we have, that whole arc that goes there with Arya, where she, where she is stuck in King's Landing with her father for a while. And then, of course, she's dragged out of there and, has to hide as Ari. And then, of course, she ends up getting, eventually makes her way to, the other country or whatever, where she ends up in, I say cult, it's an organization. you know, where they can change their faces and everything. And she eventually gets her revenge for her mother and her brother, of course, on that family. Very much so gets her revenge there. Yeah. um, on that family. Uh, I cannot remember their names off the top of my head, but I really don't care. For the payback for the red wedding and everything, and so we see her go through all of that, and then of course she's at the end of the series. She's the one that she's the one that killed the Night King. She is the one that was kind of inside King's Landing when Daenerys kind of went crazy, and and then of course she survives that, and then now she's going off to explore more of the West. I do have to admit, one of my favorite moments in all of the Game of Thrones series. I mean, there's moments where it's just like, okay, yes, we finally get some payback on this, or there's the moments where it's just like, that person didn't deserve to die. Ned, Rod, Rickon, several others did not deserve to die. And then, of course, we have the other moments where it's like, okay, can we please kill Joffrey now? Or can we please kill Cersei now? Or can we please get, insert name of whoever else that now deserves to die. Let them die and let the people who are actually good or innocent, not die type thing. So we see through all of that and everything. But I do have to admit, one of my favorite moments in Game of Thrones, and I mean, like, everyone's allowed to have their favorite moments, of course, this is just one of mine, is when, we have when Sansa and Jon are reunited at the Wall, when where Sansa's been she's watched her father be executed. She's basically been used for like political bargaining chips again and again and again by Cersei and everything, and eventually and by Bailiff, and eventually escapes. And and she was basically used tortured basically by Ramsay, and eventually was able to escape from that and everything. And then she's got Brienne with her, and and she gets her way to the Wall. She gets her way to where her brother is, where Jon is. And these are the two Stark siblings that were at the most odds with each other. Sansa loved the rest of her siblings. She tolerated Jon. Jon got along great with the boys and with Arya, and he was like he was respectful of Sansa, of course, but she looked at him the same way that Catelyn did, that that he's this bastard, this thing that shouldn't exist, this thing that indicates that there was someone else out there that my husband loved at some point, that my husband betrayed me for. Even though, of course, we learn later on, at least in the TV series, in the TV series, that's not the case. We'll see what ends up getting revealed about that in regards to the actual books. But is when Sansa and Jon see each other at the Wall, when she's brought into the camp for the Watchers of the Wall, and Jon is there, and he's the current leader of the Watchers, I think. At that point in time, he's and they just see each other and they just hug, and it's these two. At the beginning of this, in the beginning of the season, they're all kind of set their different ways, and at the beginning, at the end of the first season, they're all separated. And now they're back. These two are the first two that get reunited, and I very much like that. That was just one of my favorite moments in the entire series. And then, later on in one of the next seasons or whatever is when, all four of the Stark children are reunited again. Rickon's dead. Unfortunately, Robb's dead. But we have Jon there. And at this point in time, I don't think Jon's learned that he's technically not a Stark, that he's a Targaryen. But he is, relieved to see that Arya is alive, and he's relieved to see Bran, and, the four of them are reunited. And those are just two of my favorite scenes throughout all of Game of Thrones. But moving on, actually going on to their home, actually. I have a Palossand that is shiny that I nicknamed Winterfell. It's male, it has water compaction, has a timid nature, and takes plenty of siestas. I got this thing in a trade, and then literally like 2 days later, I think, I encountered a shiny Palossand. I think it was in Sword and Shield that I encountered the shiny Palossand. I don't think it was in Ultramoon. I think it was in Sword and Shield, and I encountered it, and I was just like, okay, I have 2 shinies now. I think I gave one to my cousin. But like, I like the layout for Winterfell. I like that they have, you know, the gods' woods and everything for the old gods. I like that concept between like the old gods and the new gods in Game of Thrones, how they do that there, how they're, you know, simultaneously both there. And that one, you know, they kind of bring them both in at times. And such. I apologize if there are a lot of cuts in this video. I have had a lot of interruptions while making this video. Texts and from coworker and my mom, and like mom and my nieces and nephew and niece's boyfriend like showed up right near the end of recording, and lots of stuff to edit out. But back to this. As I said, I like the layout for Winterfell. I like just the castle in of itself. Not really too much else with that. I mean, like, it's a good set piece and everything for what they do with it and everything. And of course, it's, you know, the stand for the battle against the Night Walkers and everything. And then we get to the last one that is currently my last bit of the Game of Thrones based Pokemon. We have Brienne, who is my Sirfetch'd. This is actually one of the first Pokemon that I bred in Sword and Shield. Brienne that I bred actually didn't end up having that good of stats, but I'm like, I bred it, I'm keeping her. Yeah, I bred her, I put in that time to breed her, so I'm keeping her. Sirfetch'd, as I said, is female, has Steadfast, is serious, and is quick to flee. I love Brienne throughout the course of the series. I love how she's introduced at the beginning of the 2nd season. With, you know, she wanted, you know, Brienne of Tarth, she wanted to become a knight and everything, and how at the end of the series, you know, Jaime knighted her, and then she is now the, you know, the guard of, you know, Bran's guard, his, you know, his head of protection, his head of the guard and everything. I kind of wish Brienne's relationship with Jaime could have been a little bit less, you know, kind of disturbing type of a thing. But yeah, I like Brienne throughout the entire series, and I'm aware that I'm kind of a Star Wars fan too, and I'm aware that she is a Captain Phasma in the new stuff, which, you know, makes me happy. I like Phasma. Not really. I mean, I haven't really seen the lady that plays Brienne and too much else, but I like, you know, I like Brienne throughout the course of the series. I like how she is very stalwart in her, you know, her determination to hold her, you know, keep her promise to Catelyn, keep her vows to Sansa, and then to Arya, and, you know, and to Bran then later on. You know, she could have very easily stayed in Winterfell with Sansa, but she, you know, Bran needed more of that protection to a degree. And yeah, I like what they did with that. I like Sirfetch'd in the games. I like how they, I was like, you know, Farfetch'd for so long didn't have much going for it. And then, you know, we get to this and it's just like, well, we're going to give it a bigger leak and different coloring and make it look slightly more angry. And then we're going to make it evolve. And the leak is going to turn into a sword and it's going to get a shield. And it's going to be really fun to play with. So I very much like, I really like Sirfetch'd in the game. I think it's very cute. Very good one there. I don't have a shiny of it. I may attempt to try to get a shiny Sirfetch'd at some point, but it's not something that's on the menu at the moment. At some point, if I do end up at some point getting Rhaegal bred at some point, or caught, depending on the case, then I may end up at some point in the future doing like another video at some point, like when I have like a bunch of other Pokemon that are just like, okay, these are kind of just like additions to previous videos because I've been working on them and I finally got them. So yeah, that'll be fun. I've got a couple of Harry Potter Pokemon that I'm finishing up, and then I'll do a video about those ones. I'm just about finished with the Fruits Basket Pokemon, but that video might go up before this one. I'm not sure yet. And then I'll have the Fruits Basket Pokemon. Since that series is just about finished, I wanted to kind of try to get it out around the time that the series finished. For the finished versions of the Fruits Basket Pokemon, but for some of them it's a little bit harder to do because there's at least one of them I was trying to breed shiny, and we'll see what happens with that. I think that's about what I got. I'm also going to do like a bunch of like Disney based ones, but considering how many Disney based Pokemon that I have, I'm going to do them in sets. Like, these are a bunch of the animal based ones, these are a bunch of the princess based ones, and the princes, and kind of adjust them that way. So we'll see what happens with that. But that's what I have for this video. I thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And I, use the notes to make your own Pokemon based on these things if you want, or however which you want to do it. So, thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a nice rest of your day, and bye-bye. They were born on the wrong side of the wall. That doesn't make them monsters.